What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? And unfortunately, LeVon could not make it this week, but he'll be back next week. Definitely continue to tune in throughout the week for the podcast. So Monday, we discussed an Uber hack or breach. And then Wednesday, our discussion will revolve around more diversity, or not just more diversity, but just easing some of the boundaries to getting people into cybersecurity because of how undermanned we are right now and how we need to fill up the pipeline. And then on Friday, we talk about everything else. So non-cybersecurity related, movies, games, books, TV shows, all that good stuff. So definitely tune in for that. Without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right. So this one's actually from the federalnewsnetwork.com. And this one's written by Justin Doubleday and is titled White House Releases Post-SolarWinds Federal Software Security Requirements, right? So all this is based off some stuff that went down last year, right? Well, 2 years ago, actually. It was really from the SolarWinds stuff that happened in December 2020, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, December 2020. But there was some guidance that came out last year that kind of drove this, and this new guidance is from the Office of Management and Budget, right? So OMB, and there's two things that they came out with. One of them is enhancing the security of the software supply chain through secure software development practices, right? And it stems from, like I said, it stems from the Cybersecurity Executive Order last year. So what this kind of does, right, is they say what they want is for, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's kind of BS, right? But all they're asking is for self-attestation, right, from software producers that they followed NIST practices, right? So self-attestation just means that I can say, yeah, I did that. I followed the NIST guidelines, right? Here it is. Here's something with me saying that, right? Which it'll for the purposes of what they're trying to accomplish now, it seems like they're trying to make things more secure, but the way they're going about it, I don't necessarily agree with, right? Like, I'd still rather have that third party come in and verify this for a company, right? Or if the DoD or the federal government had their own entity that went in and did it for them, I'd still feel a little bit more comfortable that way, right? Because we've already seen what these companies do when left to their own devices, right? Like, they're not taking it as serious as they should, right? So again, with these memos, right? The NIST, OMB memo requires agencies to ensure their software is developed in line with two documents published earlier this year by the NIST: a secure software development framework, as well as software supply chain security guidance. So again, because of self-attestation, it kind of doesn't hold that much weight for me, right? Like, the company's just going to say they did what they needed to do just to go down the road and keep doing business, right? But they have some deadlines in here, which I like the deadlines, right? So what they're saying now is that agencies in the government have 90 days to inventory other third-party software, and a separate inventory for critical software, right? According to the memo. And within 120 days, agencies need to develop a consistent process to communicate relevant requirements in the memo, right? So they kind of got to do a what's called a POAM, plan of action and milestone, to fix anything that needs to be fixed in these documents. But I mean, it's a good step forward, but again, the self-attestation is what kind of gets me with all of this. I really want there to be a third party to go in there, and it doesn't even have to be the federal government or anyone in the government, right? Like, if it has to be another company, because then that kind of eliminates the collusion of it all too, right? Like, if you get another private company, it's very hard for both of them to agree they're going to try to fool the government in saying that they're following these guidelines. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. So I do like the deadlines. Like, the timelines are pretty good. The 90 days, the 180. Then there's a 270 day to collect attestation letters, not posted publicly for critical software. Then within 1 year, agencies should have collected the letters for all third-party software. So I think maybe it's an on-ramp, right? Like, they're building towards that third party, hopefully, or some entity in the government that'll do it. I think they're just so far behind because there's so many vendors, there's so much software to make the federal government work the way it works for better or worse. That I don't think they can do that off the bat. So I think they're trying to build towards that, and maybe in a year or two we'll be there to have that third party company. And then like we'll discuss in tomorrow's episode, the pipeline is still empty, right? Like where are they getting these at least in the federal government's respect, where are they getting people to then create this unit or this squad, if you will, to go in and do the investigations? Because currently, as they are, I don't think they have the capacity to make that happen at a large scale. Because you do have DCSA, you do have CISA, you do have Homeland. You have a few of these things that already exist, but they're already busy. I don't think there is a lot of bandwidth to currently make that happen. And then when it comes to third party, I'm sure there are plenty of companies out there that they could find to do it for them. I don't know if they have or I should say, I don't know if they want to spend the money to source a third party to then, aggress on these companies who are probably also not ready. Like, because now this is a new requirement being levied against them that wasn't there before. It should have already been there. It should have been part of the SDLC, or just good business best practices, whatever you want to call it. But if that requirement wasn't there, I bet you the majority of them were not doing it, at least not to the scale, right? So it is not as stringent as I would like, but I think it is moving in a good direction. But what were you going to say, Shannon? I see you ready.
So no, I just want to push back on two things, right?
Okay.
I hear you. I do agree with you, but the point is, this executive order came out, I believe it was the summer of last year, when the current administration, when they initially released the guidance. So not what they came out with this week, right? Like, I'm not saying that, gotcha. But the steps to start this were a year ago, right? Mm-hmm. So like, then to say another year on top of that, like, how important is it, right? And then when the point you bring up about not wanting to spend the money, like, how much is national defense worth, right? Because that's kind of what it comes down to, right? If we're going to spend $770 billion, in the DoD, like, how much is it worth to protect that investment? You know what I'm saying?
Right, which is true.
If they want to say it's important to them, make us believe it's important to you. The money where the mouth is where it always is. That's how you prove it.
They're definitely not disagreeing with you. I don't know, man. I don't see. I'm trying to find a nice way of saying it. This ship don't turn that fast. Let's just say that.
You're right.
They do not move that fast. So that's what I'm like. At least they're doing something and building, right? That's what I'm going for. Like, I'm sure once I get to the other side, I'm be super frustrated. But right now, I'm just like, if you relying on people like me, I got to learn the standard and I got to implement the standard. Then you're going to hit me with the inspection, your CCRI or whatever, punches me in the face. So from a company's perspective, I think they obviously could move a lot faster, but I'm just, from my current experience, like baby steps, right, to build towards something. But again, I'm not trying to excuse them. Like, this already should have existed. This should already be part of them acquiring the contract, right? Like, you should have milestones. You should be able to prove that you are securing the data, or that the vendors, because being honest, like, a lot of stuff is third party, right? A lot of stuff is shrink wrapped, or you're a subcontract to a contract, yada yada yada. So there are there's lots of stuff in the contracts, to my understanding, that these are things that are non-negotiable and have to be done. But as we can see, like, the way you word things can definitely be to the company's benefit and to the government's detriment to a certain extent. So, but again, I'm outsider looking in, so I don't have all of that information. I just anecdotally what I've seen, right? So I'm just hoping that they continue to go this route. I think we have a couple more years in this administration, like one more year in this administration, and then it seems that the mantle is always being passed, right? Like, it started with George Bush, and it's been working its way up throughout the administration. So it seems to be a non-bipartisan it seems to be a bipartisan um, effort. So hopefully it continues to grow in that respect. And then as we talk about in tomorrow's episode, like just getting more people in the pipeline and what have you to make this stuff happen is also a work in progress. But with that being said, I'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. Go to all of our social medias. They go by the podcast name. You can hit me up personally. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. I'm on Clubhouse, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And then LeVon can be found at LeVon Maynard on Twitter as well. Stay safe, stay secure.